Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us, coming to you from Washington's premier indoor shooting facility. Of course, that's Security Gun Club right here in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, this is part two in a two-part series of interviews we were doing as it relates to that company right there, Right to Bear. Now, yesterday you got to meet Frank Cannon, the president of the company. Today you're going to meet Perry Ortrh, the vice president of the company. Now, tone's going to be a little different on this interview because what we had agreed upon is that Perry was going to have a completely unscripted interview in which he did not know what questions are coming. And what my business manager, Alex, that's Alex right there, by the way, former Marine, former law enforcement officer, so double thumbs up for Alex, my business manager. But hey, listen, so what Alex did is he went through all of the comments that had ever been left on the channel as it relates to concerns that many of you had expressed about companies like Right to Bear. I'm not going to name all the other companies, but you know who they all are, and some of them have some okay reputations, some of them have some really bad reputations. And there's a lot of urban legend that comes with a lot of these, and some of it I'm sure is true. Well, we collected a lot of those concerns and put it together in a list of questions and said, well, you know what, Perry? Why don't you help the viewers understand what makes Right to Bear different? So let's ask some tough questions of Perry Ortrh, Right to Bear Vice President. Hey everyone, William Kirk with Washington Gun Law. I have Perry Ortrh, Vice President of Right to Bear. Perry, thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
I'm excited for this also. You know, when we started this relationship with Right to Bear, a lot of my viewers had comments.
Yep.
Some of them quite positive. A lot of them very skeptical.
Yep.
And you have agreed to sit down and do this interview. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to hit you with some hard questions today because, you know, my viewers are a little skeptical, not so much about Right to Bear, but about the entire self-defense coverage industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's first start off with this, this issue that some people who complained a lot about, like, oh, it's just another insurance company that's trying to just rip people off. Right to Bear is actually not an insurance company. I want you to explain to the viewers, though, what that really means.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you said, we're not an insurance company. We have 5 or 6 benefits that are packaged into our association, right? Almost like a high-value gym membership, right? You get all these other benefits of being associated with.
Name some of those benefits.
Okay. So it goes without saying, right? We provide the legal service,
sure,
right? So we offer, but both for emergency and non-emergency, right? So for instance, we have all the time, we'll have members call in, email in, hey, I live in South Carolina, I need to head to Georgia to visit family. If I carry a gun in my truck, what do I need to know? I don't have a permit. Am I allowed to carry the gun? What do I need to do? What are some of the self-defense laws in that state? You know, we have a team of attorneys that can provide answers to them, you know, within 24 hours, which I think is a huge benefit, right? We offer, when you become a member of Right to Bear, we have your own member portal, which you have access to with self-defense training videos, educational videos on self-defense matters, on carry laws, different things like that to better equip you. It's a big responsibility when you own a firearm or you carry one.
It's a right that comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility.
And so we want to bridge that gap for our members. So there's a lot of investment from our company that you get access to for free. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of production that they're getting virtually for free by becoming a member of our association, right? And so we also send out a publication every single month talking about the different laws that are happening, right? So like just a couple of months ago, South Carolina changed their permit law from a permit required state to constitutional carry, right? So we went in deep, we took a deep dive in our April newsletter, as we call it, sharing all of the ins and the outs and the intricacies of what is taking place.
Because that's the problem with the South Carolina constitutional carry. It's got more intricacies than most constitutional carry laws have.
I was about to get there. It's hairy. This one's hairy. This one's not like Georgia. And so being able to provide that service, right? People are going to call in and say, hey, you know, I don't have a permit. Can I just, you know, carry my gun in and wherever I want? Well, or whatever state I want. And the answer is no. You have to go out and educate yourself on what what takes place, especially when you're crossing state lines. And that's another resource that we provide that's a major benefit. And then lastly, we have numerous partners, hundreds of partners around the country that offer discounts in their stores by being partners of our association, right? So you might be living in Alabama and in your local range as a partner of Right to Bear, they're going to give you a little discount from shopping in there as a Right to Bear member. So there's lots of different benefits that come with our association than just simply the access to an attorney if you're in a self-defense incident.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the most important benefit, though, which, of course, is the coverage,
Yes.
right? Okay. And one of the criticisms that I read a lot in my viewers' comments, and they weren't calling Right to Bear out, they were calling out other organizations, one in particular with 4 letters, which will remain nameless. But they're saying, what happens is these people get involved in these situations, and then they're just denied coverage.
Yeah.
And I think that the model of what some of these companies run, as far as they run like insurance companies,
Yep.
actually leads to that result a little bit.
Yep.
But, that's a fair criticism. People are going to invest money, and you're going to be there when it hits the fan, and then it hits the fan, and you're not there anymore.
Yeah.
What can Right to Bear say that's going to make them different?
Well, yeah, I think that's a great point. I come from the insurance industry, so I know it well. I know that insurance contracts are written by attorneys for the benefit of the insurance company,
That's
not
right.
the insured.
That's right.
So what we did at Right to Bear is, we're first off, we're gun people that are in the business of supporting gun people. When we started the company, we knew of the numerous other players that had this market pretty captivated at the moment. And after reading their contracts of everybody, we determined that, hey, we can structure an arrangement that gives people and really the citizens of our country somebody that's going to be there when they need us most. That was what we prided ourselves on. And I know that sounds like a marketing piece, but it's the truth. That's why we started the business, right? And so for what we have done at Right to Bear to bridge that gap is that not only do we have pro, and I can tell you because I know all of them, pro 2A attorneys that are going to help bridge that gap for you, but our job is to not turn our backs, on people to go run and share our numbers with Wall Street to increase a stock price or to make our company more valuable, right? We believe in what we do. We've partnered with Palmetto State Armory, and one of the things that we love about them so much is that their goal was to arm America.
Right.
Our goal is to defend America, right? If we have a company that's behind providing, firearms and trying to get them at an affordable rate to everyone in the country, we want to be there to bridge that gap because we know how scary it is, right? I'm a new father. If I have somebody comes into my house, or not even into my house, or threatens my wife or my daughter, hell, even my dog, right?
That's right.
I'm gonna stand up for them and I'm gonna defend them. My first thought is not, okay, I might spend the rest of my whatever, or the next 20 years in wherever or whatever.
Right. Or out $250,000, keeping myself out of spending 20 years from somewhere.
And so that's not my thought process in that moment, but my thought process leading up to that moment is having somebody that I can trust to bridge that gap, right? We don't have clauses in our contract in the fine print on page 14 in small print that says, well, if I stand up for my family and I defend them and I'm for whatever reason have to take a plea deal, now I have to recoup all those legal fees. We didn't want that. We wanted to get a team of pro 2A attorneys to step up and defend people to bridge that gap between the legal system, which it's not it's a legal system.
It's a legal system.
And in being a responsible firearm owner.
Okay, so let's take up the situation, and this happens, and with my previous experience with another company, we would get calls occasionally, and the person would tell us their version of events, and even their version of events was a little questionable.
Yes.
As far as whether it was lawful self-defense.
Yeah.
Okay, and if the potential client is telling me a story that's already maybe not meeting the threshold, I'm very worried what the police reports and the victims and all of that are going to say when we get their versions of it. And I would see a hesitancy on parts of those companies to even cover in that situation. I would see them scramble to look for ways out.
Yeah.
What's going to be different about Right to Bear?
Well, speaking from existence, we've had numerous cases that have already happened just like that, where we have, we've heard the whole side of it. So the way that our process works is once we take that attorney emergency answered line, so you immediately have the attorney-client privilege when they call the hotline, our team is going to get the full story, right? Our initial knee-jerk reaction is to believe our member, right? That's who we are. That's who we're an everyday
that's
person.
who you're representing.
And that's who we're representing.
That's right.
So our first inclination is to have their back, right? So we're going to take the call. We're going to hold their hand, and we're going to do our due diligence to determine, was this individual acting in true self-defense? There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of gray with this stuff.
There is no black and white in those issues. If it was, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel.
It's right.
Right? I wouldn't.
Exactly right. And so what we have done is, because our knee-jerk reaction is to side with our member, we're going to go down that path. And then once we've determined from our lead counsel, our attorney in that state that's working on the case, myself, Frank Cannon, our president, and we sit down as a leadership team and say, we've determined that this person, this individual, this member is acting in self-defense. But because of the nature of our company and who we are, we don't have to go and turn to Wall Street, or we don't have to go and work on, the valuation of our company by keeping
talk to
P&Ls.
Underwriters and look at actuary tables and all of that stuff.
And then there are other companies that are insurance that, with insurance, what makes it so rigid is that if you don't fall within the guidelines, you're out. Right? Because it's federally regulated. So there are a lot more. And then
state regulations on top of it. So it's double regulated.
And so there it's very strict to what you can do. But because we offer a package of benefits to people, we have the ability to really take a deeper dive versus just saying like, this is kind of flirting with the line, you're out. Right? So we have more flexibility to be able to look into what's best for our member to determine how can we best be there for them. Because that's the reason we started the company.
Perry, here's another thing I've heard from a lot of viewers, and there's actually a lot of YouTube videos. You go out on YouTube, and I'm not going to name the companies, but you can all find them yourself, where these individuals are engaged in an act of self-defense. The DA disagrees, charges them with a crime. They get represented by company X, whoever it is. They take it all the way to trial, and they lose. Okay? Now, I don't know if they lost because the attorney didn't do their job, or if they lost because there was just overwhelming evidence against them. It could be, or a combination of the two. What's going to happen for a right to bear person if that happens? How much money are you asking for them back?
None. That was the pillar of why we moved our company and formed it into an association where we provided all of the benefits as we discussed with the legal service component to it, right? Because if you go down that path, we can't control the decision of the DA and the jury. Right. But you know what? We're going to fight like hell. And I know that for a fact because we have, and we've won every case that we've been in so far. And I know we're a young company, but we're
so
striking
far, so good.
Striking a pretty good batting average right now, right? We're going to fight it all the way through. And if we can't convince these people that our member was innocent, we're not going to ask them to recoup the potential hundreds of thousands of legal fees, right? Because again, that's not who we are. That's not why we started Right to Bear. We believe that you have the right to self-defense, right? And if you were standing, whether it was standing your ground or you were out in a park and you were, and the cool thing about our program too is it's with or without a firearm, right?
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things we talk about. It's a fist to a firearm. It's a fat lip to a dead body.
Yep.
And in fact, 99% of self-defense incidents, fortunately, do not involve a fatality.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Most of them are going to involve some shoving, some pushing, some kicking, some punching, some pepper spray or something like that.
Bag of avocados we've had.
Yep. We talked about that one already. Yeah.
So the wide variety of circumstances that might happen during one of these incidents, it's not just pigeonholed to just firearm. And that's another huge advantage that around our industry as a whole. And really, we get pigeonholed into the industry. Well, we're covering the full breadth of it, right? We have, we're more of, we're an association that has numerous benefits, right? We get pigeonholed into a self-defense insurance company. Well, that's not the case. We have much more to offer than just simply, okay, we're going to provide an attorney and then just defend you and then we'll let you know how.
And hope it all works out.
Yeah, hope it all works out and thanks for your membership dues, right? Or your premium, right? That's not what we want to focus on. And so because 99% of these don't end in a fatality and the majority of these cases don't actually, a firearm's not even involved.
No.
Right? And so,
or if it is, it's not discharged.
Correct.
Least.
Right. And so we want to bridge that gap and that understanding with our members. And that's why we send them monthly newsletters. That's why we have the content in our member portal that we do, is because our job is to help educate and equip these members to understand, the laws. And then you look at the different states. I mean, like, for instance, Washington State's much more strict than South Carolina.
It's a constant moving target, too.
Yep.
Every legislative session, it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. And so you're having, lawmakers that are not on your side. So we've partnered with great people like yourself to help bridge that gap and defend these people that are truly fighting for their life.
Yep,
right now, we're not going to cover cases like, for instance, we had somebody, and just being super frank, because I think your audience will really appreciate this.
They do let's get right to it. Yep.
We've had a case that we turned down. Right now, it wasn't this big public deal, but we're not going to cover stupidity, right? So we had an individual who claimed that they were being followed around, which they weren't, come to find out, who had a vehicle pull up to the car, and they claimed that they were in self-defense. Nobody got out of the car doors weren't open, windows weren't open, got it on camera. The police they were involved after the fact. Well, she goes in the house, grabs a gun, and starts shooting at the car, and then calls us being like, hey, I need defense, I was threatened for my life. And we're like, no, you weren't, right? That's not smart, right? So our job too, in that same vein, is to help educate our members on, really the firearm use in that case should be the last case resort, right?
Well, yeah.
And so that's part of what we do, is that there's a huge educational piece to our association that we provide as well.
Perry, you said something here, and I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, because you said earlier that Right to Bear has a tendency to assume the truthfulness of your clients and to proceed down that road.
Yeah.
So how does that reconcile with the story that you just told us? Tell me about the whole process here.
Well, yeah, no, that's a great question. So, once we took the call, we got our Florida attorney appointed with the individual at the time, and we went through the process, right? We met with the family. We met with the son of the individual. We also met with law enforcement. And after weeks of due diligence, we found that there were some previous instances that led to this very moment, right? So,
but in the meantime, you're representing the individual with the assumption that you're going to be working with them as you're doing your investigation.
So there were legal fees associated with that.
Oh,
but we didn't call her back and say, hey, that was stupid, you owe us back, right?
Okay.
Right? Because there was no indemnification required.
Well, yeah,
right?
but you got an attorney calling around talking to the detectives and doing witness interviews and an investigator involved and doing all. I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars in legal fees real quick.
Easy. And so what we have determined is that she was not acting in true self-defense. But we also didn't turn our back. And another thing that I want to touch on this point too is we have had, believe it or not, we have had numerous non-members get our hotline and call when they've had self-defense incidents, right, or issues. Well, we can't cover them. But what we do every single time is we say, you know what, we can't pay for the legal fees associated, but we are going to point you in the direction of a pro Second Amendment believing, self-defense believing attorney that's going to help bridge the gap. We actually had one recently here in South Carolina where individual had nowhere to go, nowhere to run to, had a friend who had a shooting range in Columbia that called and said, oh my gosh, I just had this happen, blah, 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 what do I do? He picks up the phone, he calls us and says, hey, can you guys help at all? We can't pay for the legal fees, but we're going to be there to help people because that's who we are. And I can't overemphasize that enough.
Okay. Let's talk about the thing that everyone is most spun up about, which is it does hit the fan. It happens at 2 a.m. I call my hotline and I don't talk to anybody. And I've heard that before. Now, I can honestly say in the company that I previously worked for, I took some 2 a.m. phone calls.
Yep.
Wasn't happy about it, but it came with the territory. And I can assure you they were happy about it because they talked to me.
Yep.
What's going to happen if you're a Right to Bear member and it does hit the fan and now you got to call the hotline? What's going to happen and how fast are you going to be talking to a lawyer?
Immediately. We have, almost to a default, have invested a lot of dollars into making sure that phone call's answered, right? So not only do we have our first individual on call, and for whatever reason, if that goes through, we have actually 3 layers. So we have another and another. So if it continues to ring, it goes from one phone to the next to the next. So we're betting on our chances. The highly compensated team that we have is going to take that phone call. And then from there, they have that privilege, right? They have the attorney-client privilege and that right to share with them, our attorneys, of what just took place.
Okay, but here's the question I got. Your 24-hour hotline attorneys are in South Carolina and Maryland, hypothetically, and a shooting's just taken place in Arizona. And neither of your attorneys know jack squat about Arizona law.
Yeah.
What's going to happen then?
Well, fortunately, we have a nationwide team of attorneys that's going to be able to reach out to our Arizona attorney to get them on the horn immediately. You know, we've had cases all over the country. Now, not tons and tons of them. Now, I'll say we've had
a newer company,
yeah, right? But we've had that happen in Texas. We've had that happen in North Carolina. We've had that happen in South Carolina. We've had that happen in Florida. And every single time the phone has been answered, right, up to date. The phone has been answered and our attorney has been on the line, if not that very night, the second that they're awake in the morning.
Okay.
Right. And so our promise and our strive is to make sure that if it's 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, we are going to answer that phone.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the other things that Right to Bear may or may not provide its members. For example, if I'm a Right to Bear member and I'm out hunting and it turns out I have a game violation, you guys going to do anything about that?
At this time, we don't.
Okay.
Yep. At this time, we don't. But the cool thing about our company and the way that we're structured is that is our number one next go-to to add to our group, our offering, I should say, to make sure that now if they had an incident where they were in defense of themselves against an animal, completely different thing.
Yeah, right. But I'm talking about, the guy who's hunting on prohibited land or hunting without a license and that kind of stuff.
We don't have that at the moment.
Okay. Here's my next hypothetical. You're a member of Right to Bear, and now ATF is breathing down your throat about some firearms you purchased. Now, again, there's no claim of self-defense or anything.
Yeah.
It's just potential firearms law violations.
Yeah, so no, we're not in a position right now covering it.
All right, Perry, here's one that is a big issue in this country and it seems to be getting bigger by the day, which is red flag laws, okay? Yes. If you're a member of Right to Bear and someone has petitioned for an extreme risk protection order, you responded as a member of Right to Bear, what are you guys going to do?
Yeah, we're going to step up. Yeah, that's one thing that we actually recently changed within the last 12 months. We didn't originally come out offering, protection, if you'll call it that, for a matter like that, but we've heard from a lot of our members that was a hot button, especially in some of the states that don't believe like we do.
Right.
So we want to help bridge that gap as well.
They're using it. See, here's the thing about red flag laws. Red flag laws are meant to be a shield.
Yes.
But they're being used as a sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I think Right to Bear can really step up.
There's no question about it. Yeah. And I know I keep pointing back to the who we are as people, right? We're couple of guys from South Carolina that found an opportunity to help and better our country, and along with our partnership with Palmetto State Armory. And I think it goes in line with our mission, which is to serve all Americans, right? Not just conservatives or not just blue, right? We want everybody to have the right to own a firearm, and for the feds to come in and basically limit that opportunity for people. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't fly well with us. So
what about like anti-harassment orders and protection orders that sometimes come with an order to disarm the individual as well?
Well, yeah. Well, if in regards to a self-defense case, yeah, we're all in on that. Now, that's something on the other side, right? If you got two neighbors barking at each other, right, just over some type of disagreement, that'd be something that we would look into. I think it goes back to what I said earlier, right? That we would be there to help, at least initially, as we continue to dive further into that exact scenario.
Do you provide coverage for minor children?
Yes, that's a great question. When we first were forming how we wanted our legal defense to work, in lots of surveys, we determined that people want protection, obviously, for themselves, for a spouse or a secondary member, and then their kids under the age of 18 as their, legal
minors.
Minors, right? And the neat thing about our minor children protection or our addition to our membership is if you have a kid who's getting bullied at school and he's pinned up on a locker and he decides to take a swing, and then the parents or the kid or the school wants to come after you.
District, right.
We're there. We're in that all day long. And that was a hot button for us. And we've actually, now it didn't go into any type of trial, but we have been a part of a bullying case at school.
You end up with school board district hearings where they're going for suspensions or expulsions and things like that.
Yep.
I've been involved in those.
Yeah. And so that again, that goes back to, when kids are being mistreated, especially while they're on their own, and we've all been teenagers. We know it happens every single day. And so for somebody to stand up for themselves and then be penalized for it didn't fly well with us. We're going to be there to help. The first knee-jerk thought when it comes to minor children protection is the kids are at home, somebody comes in the house, they grab the gun and they use it against, in self-defense of the property all day, every day. That's why we exist.
Okay. So again, if you got minor children beginning a scuffle with a bully or something like that, a school district right to bear is going to be there for them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's a really, really neat additional layer of protection for a family that has really moved the needle with a lot of families.
I bet it has. All right. So one of the criticisms that I read about is people who have had experience with other organizations, not Right to Bear, but other competitors of yours, consistently complain that the attorneys don't seem to know what they're talking about, don't seem to be very passionate about the Second Amendment or the inalienable right of self-preservation or anything like that. I know for a fact that one of your competitors, many of the attorneys were recruited just because they happen to be buddies of one of the program attorneys, like a little social network.
Yeah.
You guys doing the same thing? And if not, what makes you better or different than them?
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal question, because ultimately our organization is only as good as the defense that we can provide, right? So
That's right.
We've structured our company that we have reached out to a lot of in-network, as we call them, in-network pro criminal defense, pro 2A attorneys that are going to, like I've said, help bridge that gap. And the way that we've gone about vetting is we're a part of the vetting process, right? Not only are we doing much like a job resume interview process, right? We gather your background, what do you do? But we get on the phone and we speak with them directly and say, hey, what are your personal beliefs? Do you align with who we are? We send them our mission statement, our vision statement, and our core values. And if they align with those three things, then we will go into, what are your credentials? How long have you been practicing? Give me some case examples of what you have done and how you've protected somebody. Almost not saying what have you done for somebody for free, but what have you gone out and above to prove to us that, hey, you're not just out here looking to make a buck if you have the opportunity to do so by, taking on a case that you shouldn't.
And so that's a good segue to the other complaint that I see, which is those people who did complain about the attorneys they got, they found that their attorneys, many of them didn't lack the passion, but they lacked the expertise and knowledge and skill to do the job correctly. Mm-hmm. And what I have found as for my 35,000 foot view of looking at some of these companies is that the attorneys that they contract with are kind of young up and comers, probably need the income. Okay.
There you go.
And they're probably every single one of them at some point is going to be a pretty damn good lawyer.
Yeah.
But they're on the upward side of their learning curve still. Mm-hmm. And listen, if you're dealing with a simple assault or something like that, that may be one thing. But if you're dealing with a manslaughter charge, you don't want the kid that just got out of law school 4 years ago.
No, we don't. And that's a huge criteria right now. We're not open to the idea of taking somebody that's up and coming in their career, much like myself. But that's one of the check marks right now as we started, because we know how important how detrimental it would be to our company to have a case and have an unqualified attorney on it, and then we look like fools, right? We want to make sure that we're having people like yourself in the foxhole with our members. And so part of that interviewing and vetting process is we want to hear stories of how you have previously defended somebody in some form of, whether it be self-defense or related to a firearm, because then that's going to tell us that you speak our language. You know what we believe in. You know what we stand for. And like I said earlier, it's covering all walks of life in this country, not associated with a political party, one or the other, right? We believe that everybody has that right because of our core values and what we believe in.
So here's another complaint I see, and this one I kind of understand. You have a shooting case. It's a manslaughter case, and having represented those myself, they get really expensive, not because just the lawyer fees, but you're going to start bringing in expert witnesses, okay? Yep. So you're going to bring in a ballistics guy, and you're going to bring in a use of force guy, and you might have to bring in a blood spatter expert. And then, of course, you got to bring in a defense investigator to interview all the witnesses, because the attorneys can't be doing the interviews for multiple reasons. And so you may have $50,000 in legal fees and you got another $80,000 in additional costs.
Yep. With expert witness.
With expert witnesses and all of that stuff. And the complaint I get is, oh, yeah, they paid for my lawyer, but they didn't give my lawyer all the resources they needed to do the job correctly.
Yeah.
So what's going to be different here?
Yeah, we included expert witness in our plan, in our base level of coverage. We understand that how not only expensive, but how needed those guys are and gals, right? Those
So if hypothetically I was your program lawyer and we got a case and I'm telling you guys, hey, I really believe strongly in this case. I really do. But man, we're going to have to blow $250,000 on experts to do this thing correctly. I know you don't want to hear that news, but what's going to happen?
Yeah, we've got to do it. I mean, well, that's the business that we're in, right? We have, I personally believe we've structured the company and we've got the backing financially in order to step up to the plate, right? Obviously, we knew going into the business that these cases are expensive.
Yep.
They are. And
time consuming.
And extremely time consuming. And that's, again, why it makes it even more expensive, which is why people need this type of protection, because you don't have it anywhere else, right? People think that, oh, well, yeah, I might not have any protection outside of my home, but if I'm at my house, my home insurance, my liability coverage will extend there. My
umbrella, in the event of an accidental discharge, it might.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, maybe. Right? So
yeah,
that's again why we have right to bear, is we have it because we know the expenses that can be incurred in it, but we also know that, hey, listen, we got into this business to protect people. We've done our due diligence to protect our company financially, and we're going to step up to the plate for the people that need us most.
Perry, I get all that. That is a lot of money on one case.
Yes.
So if you have a couple dozen cases a year that go this way, how much money is Right to Bear going to hemorrhage, and what are you guys going to do about that? I mean, that's a lot of dough flowing out.
Yeah, it is. But fortunately for us, we've structured our way where we have some partners with incredible resources and backing. We also have a layer of protection that we go out and use every few dollars per membership to provide that extra shield of protection from a financial, almost like a reinsurance, right? To back us in the event that we do have 12 major cases like that.
Which, as you grow as a company, could happen.
The exposure is going to go up. And the other thing that we do too is that one thing we've taken pride on is focusing on the benefits that we offer. We don't focus so much on all this this extensive goodies and giveaways
swag
and treats and swag. And we do have swag, but that's not who we are, especially not in our third year in business, right? So as we grow, we'll have more resources to do that. But we're almost 50,000 members in only a couple of years, right? And so we have just exploded over the last 24 months. And because of that, we're able to offer our product at an extremely reasonable rate, much more reasonable than most of our competitors.
What's your monthly rate?
$13 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, and $145 a year. So when you pay up in full, you get a little bit of a discount when you pay and sign up annually, just much like the consumer industry overall,
sure.
right?
Understood.
So, and because of the mass amounts of members that we have, we're able to allot lots of money away, much like, you would hope that people are doing with their personal income, right? You got to put money away for that rainy day fund, right?
Yep,
rainy day fund. So that's what we've tried to do with Right to Bear. And, a lot of times that we've seen is because of the attorneys that we've partnered with, some of these folks are bulldogs and they get things shot down pretty quickly. Now I know that eventually we're going to have that one that bleeds out, right?
Oh yeah,
and causes lots of pain, long time, lots of resources involved. But the phone calls after the fact are so worth it. When we get calls from individuals' parents or their spouses and they say, "You guys potentially saved our life." Right? Because not only are you keeping the breadwinner out of jail, right? But you're also protecting us from what I know. And they tell you, like, we've done some research. We know this would have cost us $90,000.
Easy, yeah.
We know this would have cost us, even the small stuff. We know this would have cost us $35,000. Well, do you have $35,000 that you can just fling at one of these? No,
you can be in a pretty good position financially and not have an extra $150,000 just floating around to go blow on legal fees.
And that's what this stuff will cost. I mean, you know how much these retainers cost. You're looking at easily $35,000 to $50,000 just to have the conversation if you're not a part of an association like ours. So we feel good about what we're doing. And then, it doesn't feel like a job because of the passion in the belief system that we have in it, right? This is something that we didn't wake up, roll out of bed and say, we want to offer self-defense protection, right? We had, the opportunity to discuss some ideas that we had with the guys at Palmetto State Armory in Columbia. And we said, how can we better serve your customers? Light bulb came on, and they said, we've got a ton of customers that probably don't know this product exists, that they can have protection in the event that they use this weapon to defend themselves. And that was the birth of how Right to Bear came about.
So the other criticism, of course, is that you're not available in a few states.
Yep.
Washington, my home state, being one of them.
Yep.
I think New York is another one.
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey, the third.
New Jersey is the third.
Okay,
Very
now
good.
all three of those states have something in common, which is they do not appreciate Second Amendment rights.
No.
As evidenced by their state legislature. What are you guys going to do about that? Because, obviously I have a lot of viewers in Washington who need the protection. We've de-policed our communities out there.
Mm-hmm.
We're now the 8th most dangerous state in the United States.
Wow.
Which is disgusting. We are number 1 in the nation for property crimes.
Wow.
Our sex offense crimes have increased by 150% over the last 12 years. And in the same time, our state legislature has systematically tried to disarm every lawful and responsible gun-owning Washington resident. And if you live in downtown Seattle and you make a 911 call, good luck if anyone's coming. Not because Seattle police doesn't want to be there. If they were funded correctly, Seattle police would be there in an instant because they do their job if you let them do it.
Yep.
And so the need to take matters into your own hand in places like New York and New Jersey and Washington are ever increasing.
Yep, they are.
And yet a company like Right to Bear can't help them. What's going on there?
So, I think that it's put a strain on us. It's put a strain on our heartstrings. I will tell you that we are working with the state of Washington right now, which there is light at the end of the tunnel. So we are excited about that. We are really excited about that.
Why don't you explain, though, to the viewers, because a lot of people think that it's just, Right to Bear just doesn't want to do business in Washington or any of the other companies.
Yeah.
USCCA, I'll just throw them out because they're a big name in the industry. They're not available in Washington State either. I don't think it's that USCCA doesn't want to do business in Washington.
No, not at all. Or New Jersey or New York, right?
Especially New Jersey and New York. Very
the unfortunate reality
states.
is that these states don't allow our product, the defense of their of their constituents, of their residents. They don't allow it to be procured there, which is crazy. So you're going to limit the protection they have on their own, but then when somebody goes out to help try to bridge that gap, they just say no. Right. So it's purely an attack on your rights. We've got plenty of room down here in South Carolina if you want to come join us.
Well, after spending a couple days here, it is very tempting. I will tell you that.
But, we're fighting every year. We always send all 3 states a letter requesting how we might be able to. Some respond, some don't. Some give you the runaround. But
Washington State has at least gotten back to you.
Yeah,
I know they gave you a little runaround at the end, but they at least steered you in the right direction.
They did, and so they gave us the direction that we can offer it legally and ethically, which we want to do. And we're excited.
Well, I want you guys to do that too, obviously.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I have a lot of people might be interested in that product.
So we're really excited, and obviously with your voice, we'll be echoing our message as we get closer and closer to being able to offer it in Washington State. And for our New Jersey and our New York friends, we are avidly working on it, but it's not because we don't want to.
So really, it's the state legislature and the statutory schemes inside these states that are precluding Right to Bear from anchoring in there. It's not that Right to Bear has no interest in being, and I think that we should, in defense of your competitors, any of them who are not participating in those states are there only because the state legislature is keeping them out. Do you agree with that?
Yep, correct. And the other thing I'll say about our competitors, and we say this all the time, we respect what they did. They paved the way for us to come into this field. We just adamantly believe that we do it better at a better, more affordable rate.
Why do you think you do it better? I've heard that from you guys. So what makes you better?
I think it's the breadth of everything that we do. We offer it at the barrier to entry to become a member is more affordable. We offer more protections in that base plan. We offer more resources. Now, there are a couple competitors that do a phenomenal job for resources and training, but as far as the defense goes, we just believe that we have more to offer for a more affordable rate. We talk about being the most cost-effective, value-centered self-defense association in the country. And then ultimately it comes down to the leadership, myself and Frank Cannon. Our belief system is that, this was not, obviously we're running a business, but this is almost like a lifestyle business for us because this is who we are, right? So when we started our company, we continued to find people, whether it was salespeople, customer service people, attorneys that believed in the same mission, right? Everything that we've talked about so far, even down to vetting our attorneys, we want to make sure that they believe in the same mission, values, and core values that our organization believes in, because then after that, we know that at least they are going to stand up for what's right because of the foundation that we've laid when we started.
Okay. You mentioned something earlier during our interview that you want to represent everybody regardless of their background, regardless of what political party they belong to. And I think it's an opportunity for you and I to have a pretty candid discussion, and maybe for you to talk to America here for a minute about how, in a lot of ways, guys that look like you and me, white dudes, we're not the ones that are most likely going to have violence committed upon us. It's those in the marginalized communities.
Yes.
Right? Who may not politically see the world the same way you and I do.
Yep.
But we both recognize that they have the absolute right to preserve their lifestyle however they've chosen to live their lives.
Correct.
They have the absolute right to protect themselves and their loved ones. Why is right to bear even like a more appropriate product for them than it is for guys like you and me?
Well, I think that it's number one because a lot of times the communities that they're surrounded in, they're going to need this type of protection for themselves because they're in a more vulnerable situation day in and day out. And then it comes to our product. The term I like to use, the barrier to entry to becoming a member of Right to Bear, is a lot easier. I tell people all the time when I'm doing a class myself, I share, you're going to leave this class and go get lunch, and you're going to get a hamburger with fries and a drink from Burger King, and that's going to be more than our monthly membership to have protection for yourself. So I ask you, what is your freedom worth to you, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's white, black, Hispanic, Asian. The marginalized communities, they kind of have almost like a magnifying glass on them already because it's easier to talk about and publicize in the media, right? And because that's just the way that our country has gone right now, is they have focused on those groups, on how folks like us are in the wrong, and how they just get this overwhelming, unfortunate attention that puts them in a bind. So if they're ever in need of any type of protection or legal advice. And the other thing is they don't have it at their fingertips like maybe you or I would.
Well, do you think that also we've done a bad job of making people in those communities feel welcome in our community as well, and that maybe there's an opportunity here to make those people feel more welcome in our community?
Yeah.
I think as a country, we spend a lot of time focusing on the things that makes us different. We rarely fail to recognize the things we have in common. Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing that everybody has in common as an American is you have the absolute right to preserve the lifestyle you've chosen for yourself and your family.
Yep. Yeah. And so our job is to back that same thought. And you couldn't be more spot on with what's going on right now, is that there's kind of this wedge that's being driven, and it's almost not even race now. It's becoming like upper class and then bottom of lower class and middle class, right? And they're trying to really create this
caste system almost.
Yeah, much like that. And to be able to help bring folks along that might not have the resources nor the education or the knowledge of maybe some of the opportunities that we've been granted. We're the perfect target. We're the perfect company for, and the perfect offering for people like that.
A lot of these people in these communities, Perry, aren't big 2A people.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're going to sit there and they're going to go, I don't even own a gun. I am never owning a gun. That is not me. Why would I need Right to Bear?
Yeah, no. And the great part about Right to Bear is that you don't need a gun to have coverage or to have a membership with us, right? We offer protection for self-defense, right? So regardless of firearm, regardless of political party, regardless of income level or the phrase of this caste system that's being created in our country, we are there to help them and provide that service, when they join Right to Bear, right? It doesn't necessarily matter, where you come from. We're all in the same belief here in this country that you have the right to preserve, the life that you've chosen to live here in this country. And we want to keep that, we want to keep that going. And that's, part of our frustration with some of these states is that they've pushed companies like us out from better protecting those people. But the states that we do offer it in, we're proud of what we've put together for them.
Okay. Final question. You're a consumer. You're going to speak to the consumers for a second. They're finally thinking like, yep, I do need some coverage.
Yeah.
I need some protection. And they're going to go out there and they're going to shop across the marketplace. Okay, let's put them in a state where everything's available. USCCA, US Law Shield, any of the rest of them. Why right to bear over them?
Because we care. We've talked about all the beautiful things of our product, the unlimited civil and criminal defense, right? But we have a company that is backed by people that believe in the same things you believe in, right? With or without a gun. You have no coverage anywhere else. No one's going to stand there and hold your hand like we will, and we can honestly say that because we've done that now. I'm really looking forward for the opportunity for you all to hear from one of our members that have had a claim and have had an experience with Right to Bear. Is going to be extremely eye-opening for you. But we have taken pride that we are the average American just like you. And what we've done is we've put together a plan that I know I can go home at night, put my head on my pillow, and know that if I had to protect my family, I'm going to have the coverage I need. And that's what we've done.
Okay. He's Perry Orth. He's Vice President of Right to Bear. If you guys are interested, go ahead and visit my good friends at protectwithbear.com. And right now, if you use the promo code WGL, you'll receive 10% off. Perry, thanks so much.
Appreciate it, my
I
friend.
appreciate coming up here and answering some tough questions today.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
No, thank you.